Okay, this is number 2 of therapy is cancer for men. In this case, we are talking about Arthur Fleck for the Joker. And of course, we're looking at a counselor for people, in this case, men too, My Little Thought Tree, and we'll see what he has to say about the Joker, Arthur Fleck.
About his character in this film that is perfection. But one of the things that did bother me in the film, and in a way it becomes a positive, and I realise it at the end, but I'll discuss it why it bothered me for the moment, and we'll see what you think. But what am I saying? Yeah, part of what bothered me is that a lot of what happened didn't exactly feel believable in the film. I mean, considering this is supposed to be a gritty, realistic version of Joker. I mean, I won't talk spoilers, but let me try and list a few things. How incredibly cruel everyone is in the film feels just a bit exaggerated, I think.
No, doesn't feel exaggerated to me at all. This happens to low status men all the time. That's what Joker is, by the way. He's a low status man. He's at the bottom of the pile. Guys listening to this video, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Quasimodo, was he not abused by people because he was hideous and deformed? And he actually was crippled too. He was half deaf from ringing the bells. People treated him like garbage. But of course, the reason why that is okay is because that's kind of like what do you call it, like a mythology or fairy tale or whatever. But the Joker hits on the real message saying, no, Quasimodo is real. There's all kinds of them out there in the streets. There are all kinds of homeless men who get abused all the time. Let's see if this is exaggerated. All right. He's a clown. He's fun. The kid grabs a sign for fun and they run off with it. How is that exaggerated? You think guys don't fool around like this? Happens all the time. So Arthur Fleck's dumb enough to chase them over the sign. Okay, they swat him and then kick him some, and then they run. How is this exaggerated? You think guys don't do stuff like this? Young guys who get into the mob mentality, and they find a weak target that they know that society doesn't care about. This is the big thing. It's not just that Arthur is alone. He's nobody. He knows that society doesn't care about him. And so that's how come they do it. They know it. Low status men are trapped on. Arthur Fleck even says, hey, how dare you insult me or put responsibility on me? You guys would step over me in the street if I was dead. And he's right. This is not exaggeration. This guy only doesn't like, the reason Thought Tree doesn't like this is because it brings up male issues. And he's uncomfortable dealing with the truth of male issues. Low status men are treated like shit.
Like, the dickheads on the subway are a clear example because they're just so over the top. They're almost like villains in a musical. You know, this.
No, I disagree again. Let's see this. So there he is. Don't want to play too much. They're the boys. They're just annoying this woman. Do they do anything to the woman? No, she gets up and leaves. And they don't touch her because these guys know that the woman is upper class. She's above them. If they started, all she have to do is yell for help and they'd be in bars. But you see, since she leaves and their fun's over, they go after Arthur. And the reason they go after him is because they know that this guy get dressed up as a clown, he's a perfect target for them. So of course, and There he is looking at him, and they're getting creeped out by him. It takes a while. At first, they're not immediately looking for someone to say, okay, now we're going to beat someone up. They just notice him and get turned off, you know? So this is natural, actually. And, when Arthur shoots these disgusting losers, this guy runs away. This is very typical. Guys are cowards. This is very typical.
It's slightly cartoonish in how much of dickheads they are.
No?
And you've got the counsellor who, like every negative stereotype of a counsellor, is just asking the same questions, not really listening, not really empathising with you. And there's how over the top, posh, twat, disconnected from the people that Thomas Wayne is made up.
No, actually, I got to tell you, the counselor isn't exaggerated in the least. He's understated, actually, because the counselor in the movie merely ignores him. But My Little Thought Tree, a real counselor, is actually going to victim blame Arthur Fleck. He's going to turn around and say Arthur could have looked past all this and done better and looked on the positive side. That's something the counselor, the fake counselor, the fictional one in the movie didn't do. So it's understated. We'll see if this guy, My Little Thought Tree, blames Arthur in his video here.
Sense if you viewed the events of the film through Arthur Fleck's eyes specifically. I mean, I talked a bit in the Good Will Hunting video about the little stories that run in the back of our minds. As much as we all might like to say we're realists, we never are. Our emotions are constantly distorting our view of the world. We never see everything objectively, particularly if it's our own lives. We never have any objective view on our own lives whatsoever, because there's too much emotion. We have a little narrative that plays out instead. Like, I'm a lucky person, I'm doomed to be alone forever, I'm a good leader. Then you have lots of them, obviously, but whatever these things there are, none of them are exactly the objective truth. It's just kind of stories we tell ourselves based on our past experience. This is who I am, this is how my life goes, despite the fact it could, if we challenge these narratives, go very differently.
He's doing it if we just challenge these narratives. So Arthur Fleck, when he was beaten up by these people, these guys in the street, and he loses his job for no real fault of his own, you see, that's just him keeping up a negative narrative, right? Arthur should just look at the positive side, like his abusive mother was telling him his whole life. So his abusive mother tells him his whole life that to look on, smile, and be happy, abuses him. And now My Little Thought Tree, I think, is about to do the same thing.
For example, Arthur Fleck's narrative is that the entire world tramples all over me. But it feels so incredibly bad for Arthur. And everyone feels so exaggeratedly dickhead-like. But, of course...
No, they don't. They look dickhead-like in the way that people actually are.
It does, because that's how it feels to Arthur. I mean,
there you go. All those scenes, they must have been just what we're seeing in Arthur's head, right? Right. Arthur must have said something or did something to make these guys attack him. Or My Little Thought Tree doesn't like the fact that men are aggressive to low status men like this. So he says it's exaggerated. He doesn't want to deal with reality. And this is the kind of person that men trust their mental health to. Pathetic.
The story you unconsciously tell yourself is that everyone spits on me, everybody treats me like shit. I'm trampled on by everyone.
But everyone did treat Arthur Fleck like shit. Because he had no woman to validate him. He is off-putting. And people treat men like this, like that.
you'll then unconsciously start looking out for the stuff that proves that story to be true. You know, Arthur will notice every single little bad thing that ever happens to him.
When Arthur Fleck gets beaten down, he usually bounces back up and goes again, and then he gets beaten down again. If Arthur Fleck was the way this guy was describing, he would do it the very first time, but he's not. He is abused in this film. It's a fact. And now he's victim blaming Arthur Fleck.
In his life, and he'll probably catastrophize all of them to a whole nother level. But any of the good things he won't really notice because...
Really, what were the good things that happened in this film to Arthur Fleck? Here's where Arthur Fleck finds out about his mother. He's got all these repressed memories where he was abused. He was abused by the mother's boyfriend, and she let it happen. She just let it go. And you know something? Society was happy with that. What people don't want to admit is that children are the owned objects by their mothers. Society cares about women, so they care about mothers. They don't care about the children. Arthur Fleck was not rescued by society from his abusive mother. In society's mind, you know, if you own a rake and you leave it out in the rain and let it rust, that's your business. And that's what Arthur is. Maybe society will be a little more protective for little girls, right? But the little boys, they are owned by their mothers. And that's why he wasn't separated from her and protected from her by society. Society is to blame. And so here he is finding this out. And so he's been lied to. He's been gaslighted his whole life. That's a tremendous blow to a man's mind, to himself. The betrayal. Betrayal is the worst. It's worse than someone trying to kill you. It's someone trying to kill you while saying that they aren't. And here's the scene where Arthur kills his mother. And you know something? When he's done, you see this beautiful, wonderful, warm light come over him. It's liberation. It's like the heavens opening up. Arthur freed himself from his mother. And this is what I'm going to say to you guys. The Joker film really isn't a Joker film. It's an Arthur Fleck film. The makers of this film was very smart. They realized that what they've done is they've taken the story of the downtrodden man and labeled it Joker so people would go see the film. Men's issues have to be coded. And if you want proof of that, here's this counselor here, my little thought tree, who doesn't even want to deal with men's issue. He wants to say it was all in Arthur's head. He should have looked at the positive things in life, like his mother, right? And that's just how brutal it is. And that's why this film became so big. It speaks to men. More and more men are finding themselves at the bottom of the pile. And here's another thing too. Guys actually endorse the male dominance hierarchy. They just don't want to be at the bottom. So that's when you see the major complaints. Guys at the bottom, then he says the system's bad and everything has to burn. But if he rises in the hierarchy, all of a sudden it's okay. Because people want to see low status men abused. I bet Thought Tree probably doesn't even like the idea of Arthur Fleck taking his own life to get the hell out. Because people want men to suffer. Say it's not good enough. It's not good enough. They can't even kill themselves, Now take something like this. Arthur kills Randall. Randall gave him a gun. When Arthur kills someone with a gun, all of a sudden Randall is all concerned about, his own getting in trouble. So he's here to to show Arthur that, I'm not on your corner. I've only been in my own. I've only pretended to be in your corner. Now I just want to scurry and save myself. So Arthur kills him, right? And you say, oh, he's such an evil man. Why raise up like thought tree? Let's see. He says, oh no, no. The message is that someone will kill someone, right? But you see, in this film where he kills Arthur or Randall, I should say, the two men are with him, right? Here's the other guy. Arthur lets him go because Arthur killed the guy who betrayed him. But he leaves the man who did nothing wrong to him alone. He lets him leave. See? He lets him out the door, says, sure, go ahead. And so he's not even a bad person. He's not a bad person. He's not some psychopath just killing people. He is mentally disturbed, but so much of his mental illness is from societal and close friendship betrayal. That's what men get. They get betrayal. He lets him go. So he's not even a bad guy yet. And this isn't unreal either. Arthur and his boss. The boss said, where he got jumped with the young guys who stole his sign. Because he was injured, he went to the hospital. He says, oh, the guy just left and he threw away his sign. And Arthur is telling him, no, I got jumped. And of course, this guy, his boss is another gaslighter. He says, a lot of people find you creepy. But I kind of like you. I don't know why, but he's lying. He finds Arthur creepy. And he's looking for any excuse to fire him. That's why he's sitting here gaslighting him. He should have just told the guy with the sign. He said, look, guys jumped him and broke his sign. He did show zero support because he doesn't like Arthur. And Arthur has to deal with this shit. And this is something that one of the guys pointed out to me that I didn't notice right away. So Arthur Fleck, he said his voice he's very effeminate the way he talks. That's part of being low status. People hate effeminate men. Arthur Fleck here isn't even gay. It doesn't matter. He comes off as effeminate the way he talks. Guys hate it. Women hate it even more. It's part of his creepiness. People can choose to be kind to a person like this. They don't. And Arthur, as he says, you guys pretend you care about these guys I shot in the subway, but you don't. He says here, I won't play it because of copyright, but he says, if it's me dying on the sidewalk, you would walk right over me. And he's right. Homeless men know this. They experience it. He's saying something that's very real. He says something so true. He says, have you been out there, Murray? He says, no one thinks about the other guy. It's so true. That's why men's rights have always been stalled, even though they've been going on for decades now. Men don't care about the other guy. And this is the topper. When the Joker, Mr. Fleck here, says, here's a joke. What do you get when you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like garbage? Right? He is so on. And this is the thing. There's no woman here to come to his rescue. Like that anime S.H.I.E.L.D. hero. There's the girl who falls in love with him and shows him support. There's nothing like that here in the Joker film. There's no woman here to validate him. So he does get thrown in the trash. That's why Arthur Fleck only has one of two choices. Swallow it until he kills himself or fight back. And he chooses to fight back. And that's why people got so upset about the Joker film. That's why the police actually got concerned. They get concerned because this is really reality. This shows reality. If this was an exaggeration like this uh, little thought tree person tried to say it was, no one would be concerned. They'd say, "Oh, if people are going this, it's like going to see like Interview with the Vampire or something. Vampires don't exist, but this is real life for men at the bottom, and this is why people get so upset. And this is why therapy is cancer for men. This is why therapy is cancer for men, because therapists are still men and they still love the dominance hierarchy and they still like the idea of having low status men out there to suffer. That's what I have to say about this.